Thank you for staying with us. Come November the 11th, all residents in Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa will go out to vote for who becomes the next governor in their respective states. Despite all hands being on deck, the Independent National Electoral Commission has raised concerns over the rising cases of insecurity in Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa states ahead of the governorship elections. In a statement signed by the National Commissioner and Chairman of its Information and Voter Education Committee, Sam Olumekun, INEC appealed to political parties and their candidates to avoid actions and utterances capable of heating up the polity. The Commission also noted that only 55% of the expected total of 189,180 polling unit agents have been uploaded to the designated INEC portal ahead of the election. It urged all parties sponsoring candidates for the election that are yet to upload the list of their agents to do so before the deadline for the exercise, which is the 10th of October. But joining us in the studio is a certified anti-terrorism specialist, Dixon Osaje. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Right. Let's look at these off-cycle elections coming up in November. INEC has been speaking about the fact that the insecurity in the states might hamper the turnout of voters for the elections, and is raising concerns generally, saying that something has to be done with regards to addressing it. So it's speaking to stakeholders, saying that we need to begin to look at how we talk, how we speak, not to heat up the polity, so to speak, but give us a sense, because this is not the first time. Even leading up to the 2023 election, we saw that INEC was speaking, and their offices were even attacked in some of these states being mentioned. Just give us a sense of what you're seeing.
Well, they've perceived the threat. In every given society or organization, the first thing you do when you perceive threats, what you need to do is to, speak out, or you profile solutions to such threats. But INEC, like you rightly said, they've been speaking. They've been talking about the risk implication. They've been talking about the threat implication of their activities. And also, they've been carrying out a lot of crime mapping, ascertaining where the threat is, because definitely, for example, in Imo State, you can't tell me the whole of Imo State is under intense threat, or it's a high-risk state. There are localities that you can map out. So that's where the essence of crime mapping comes to play. Let me give you, for example, in Lagos State, if there's a let me say Oshodi, for example, if it's a crime-prone area, you need to map out that area as a crime-prone area. Lagos State, in general, is generally peaceful. So there are spots, I think, within Kogi State. So for the benefit of doubt, people shouldn't think that maybe the 3 states INEC has mapped out are all crime-prone states. No, they are not crime-prone states. There are localities or environments that are high-risk environments. So INEC should be able to identify those high-risk environments instead of, dispensing fear in the public, within the public, because it's not good for you to just come and say, this is what's happening. No, that's not how it is done. Carry out crime mapping. Identify the hotspot. Identify the crime-prone environment, so that you'll be able to project reasonable security force. They've been speaking for so long, but I think if they want the security agent to do the right thing, they also need to do the right thing as well. They talk about voter apathy. Voter apathy, we are not new about voter apathy. 2023, we had a lot of turnout in the presidential and state governorship election. So we expect more turnout, if only they promise to carry out, to run a free, fair,
But can INEC
election.
carry that out? Is that for INEC to do, carrying out this crime mapping that you were talking about? Yes, they may have seen some places or taking note of some areas that these are red or hot spots.
Vera,
is it for them to do?
Vera, that's a fantastic question. I've had such questions 1 or 2 times. INEC have been lazy. When I say lazy, in the sense that you check the meaning of INEC, independent. They are independent electoral commission. And when somebody says you're independent, that means you have the capacity and capability to run your own thing. But they don't have security forces. They are not. They are not force units. Application of security is not about force unit. For example, if I tell you that, hey, Vera, you asked. Okay, yesterday a client called me yesterday that I should come and deploy some security guards within his facilities. He mapped out 4 locations. And I told him that my security company, we don't just deploy guards. We carry out what we call risk assessment of that environment. Having carried out risk assessment, we will advise the clients what to do and what to project. So INEC, it's INEC's sole responsibility to carry out risk mapping of those environments. That's why it has a security director. That's why they have security advisors within their community. Carry out that risk assessment and risk mapping analysis, then you'll be able to speak to... they are being paid for what they are doing. They've collected money for what they are doing. So they would meet the Nigerian police or the Nigerian military and say, hey, our security team have carried out risk and vulnerability assessment within this given environment. We think that this very environment or these very places are the area we are going to experience, high risk or attacks for men and operatives. Then the security agent will project reasonable security force in those areas identified by INEC themselves. Okay. It's their duty to do that.
Could it be that they are actually doing it and they are not making it a subject of public consumption?
Maybe.
It's something that they will have and work with the police because it's an interagency collaboration. But I would like to ask you, talk to us about what you find more worrisome about this upcoming election in this elections in these states. Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa. Which areas within the states do you consider most as the hotbeds?
Well, for me, I think Imo State is the hotbed based on the activities going on between the gun-known men or unknown gunmen here, and Kogi State is second after Imo State from my own personal analysis. Then Bayelsa is relatively peaceful. Maybe I think the major problem here is the power syndrome, do or die syndrome, because most of these politicians think they will live till eternity. You can't take a life because you want to spend 4-8 years in the office. You can't eliminate a society because you want to go for your personal ambition. If your intent is to serve the country, there's no need for you to look at it as a do or die affair. I believe that politics is a game of two-face. Yes, I'm not talking about two-face in Dibia here. I mean two-face. You win or you lose. There's no draw in politics. I've never heard that maybe you and Vera are going for governorship application and there's a draw. Except maybe there's a runoff. There must be a winner. So for me, it's right time we need to understand that politics is a game of two-face. Because if you have an intent and you are a compatriot, you don't need to kill a Nigerian to rule in Nigeria, or you don't need to kill somebody to be a governor. What you need to do is to advocate peace. You need to speak well. They've also advised that politicians should mind their language. Life and death, I'm a Christian, it's in the tongue. And most things that we say, could result to peace or could result to war. And that is why any given war today starts from the tongue. If you hear that America is fighting Iraq or Israel is fighting Liberia, it starts from the tongue because it's all about order. Hey, go and decimate these guys. They've come and they've abused our women. So the tongue is very powerful. Our politicians must tame their tongue because let them act from 1999. Some of them that got into power in 1999, they are resting at home. Maybe 1 or 2 people that perhaps has carried out evil activities will be regretting that, man, this is what I did in 1999, but now power is transient. You're not going to have it forever. But they must remember that they will not live till eternity. Hey, if you and I, if we all live till eternity, do you think by now I will not be a trillionaire? Everybody, but because we have morals, we have values, we have love for nations, we are compatriots. That is why we all need to come together and build a nation. If we don't come together and build a nation, then will be a laughingstock in the international community. Now,
we know that elections are critical in a democratic setting.
Yes, very.
That is one of the pillars that define a democracy as it is. But talk to us how much of a threat this matter of insecurity is becoming to our democratic processes and our democracy. Whenever we are heading to elections, we're seeing matters of security to the point where some people feel that we are militarizing our elections at some point. Talk to us what you interpret from that.
Vera, I'm a realist. I won't tell you that some people think we are militarizing our election. No, nobody thinks so. We are truly militarizing our election. We've seen on videos where people come, snatch ballot box, run away with it. We've seen on video where people come, disperse everybody, shoot everybody, snatch ballot box, and run away. What are they doing that for? None of those guys, these street urchins, or properly you can call them area boys or gangsters, none of them are vying for position. Definitely someone sent them to go and carry out such evil acts. Now, if people like this carry out such kind of if people like this carry such kind of acts and they are being sent by election, that tells you that our politicians are certifying criminality. If you certify criminality, what bounces back to the society is that those guys you used to go and steal those ballot boxes, after you've gotten into power, you're going to forget about them. They'll become a nuisance and a threat to the state and to the country. So that's why sometimes I would like to advise the Nigerian police leadership. They must not take snatching of ballot boxes with levity, because most of these guys that carry out this act, look at the beheading of DPO Bako in Rivers State. I felt so pain because something struck me. I said, don't be surprised. These idiots, sorry to use that word, these good guys, yes, these good guys, should I say bad guys now? These criminal elements, perhaps one or two of them were used during the general election. Assumption. You understand? Yes. So if you use most of these guys to go and carry out criminal act during election, they believe that, hey, it's okay to commit crime in the Nigerian public. It's okay to run these things. And they will just be cruising because they believe that nothing is going to happen. So that is where crime and punishment comes to play. Because if we want to attack crime, we must look at it from true perspective. We must look at it from the criminal justice system. And we also must look at it from the welfare perspective. You understand?
Right. We'll look into that when we return from this break. To stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us. Before we went on break, we were talking about INEC raising concerns about the security situation in some of the states that will be having off-cycle elections come November, and that is Kogi, Bayelsa, Imo states. And we still have our guests with us in the studio talking about Dixon Osaje, who is a certified anti-terrorism specialist, speaking with us on this. And before we went on the break, you were talking about if we are to address crime, we should look at it from two approaches, talking about the criminal justice system as well as the welfare aspect system. And I want you to expatiate on that with regards to this conversation.
All right, thank you very much. You see, sometimes we approach crime from fire brigade approach, and sometimes we, look at crime as a norm. From the criminal justice system, the criminal justice system comprises of the police, the court, and the prison. When a criminal is being apprehended, the police, nobody from court apprehend criminal. Nobody from the prison service apprehend criminal. The police apprehends the criminal. At the end of that, they carry out an investigation. If the criminal is found wanted, what do? They hand over the guy to the courts. And it's the duty for the court. The prosecution system takes the guy to the court. Then, if this guy is found guilty, they take him to the prison. The essence of prison service is not to destroy, except in the cases of felony or murder where you have been sentenced to death. But the essence of prison services is for reformation processes, it's for retribution processes, it's for correctional processes, not for destruction. So that these guys will come back to the society looking reformed, sharp and smart, and be a better Nigeria. But I could tell you that 60 to 80% of people who come out from prison, become more hardened of criminals. I don't know what's happening in the prison services. And that's why we need to put our searchlight in the prison services to see the reformational processes in our prison services, because you can't go to prison for a case of assault and you come out to become an armed robber, whatever the case may be. I'll give you a story. Two of the guys that we arrested in the case of Apostle Johnson Suleiman, they were in the prison. They were charged to court, they went to prison, and they met themselves. And one of the guys was released, and he collected the number of the other guy and said, when I come out, I will talk to you. When the other guy came out, they connected themselves and they formed a gangster, 10 men gangsters. And they were, causing the state of Edo, Kogi, and 2 other states. They were causing a lot of mayhem. So these guys came out from the prison. What did they learn from the prison? Nothing. So that is where the prison services needs to be reformed. We need, or if we want to privatize our prison services, let's do that. It's as a matter of urgency.
Correctional Service Center does not change anything.
It's not change. I won't say it does not change anything. It's not changing much as expected from them. That is the area of criminal justice system. After the World War II, the United Kingdom, came out with a policy, and they contacted Sir Beveridge to, bring out policies that will, better the lives of the Britons. And what this man came about was that he said, hey, if we want to better the life of our people, in the area of punishment, oh yes, you put those punishment mechanisms in place. But as a country, what do you do for your people? That's where social welfare comes to play. In the area of social welfare, we're talking about education. We are talking about, what's it called? It just skipped my memory. Now we're talking about education. We're talking about family well-being, home, what's it called? The homes. And we're also talking about child protection here. You know, any child that is found in the streets or on the streets is a potential threat to the government. If you go to the north, I was born and bred in the north. If you go to the north, even here in Lagos, while I was coming in here this morning, as early as 7:30 this morning, there are some beggars in the streets begging for arms. Those guys are potential threats to the government. We need to have a system of government whereby, and I believe our president is doing so well presently with all his policies he has set in place. If we have an effective policy that will take out most of these Nigerians from the street, and that is why I have to blame some of our leaders, most especially in the north, who just gather most of these guys, give them bread, give them masa, give them akara, thinking you are doing them well. You're not doing them well. You're only feeding them daily. And that is why when the employment comes from terrorism angle, these guys tend to obey, because Boko Haram and the insurgent and most of these criminal guys, their methodology of employment is to hit hard on the vulnerable Nigerians. Who are the vulnerable Nigerians? The guys I just mentioned. So for us to take out most of these criminal acts from our state, we need to take out children from the street. We need to take out people from the street. Then, you know, I believe in tough love. You know, I will not come here and say, hey, give Nigerians bread and butter. I'm not brought up that way. Tough love is the sense that, hey, you need to work hard to achieve your dream. You need to work hard, because if you start giving people, what's it called, palliative, and they'll be looking at it as a birthright. So I am a believer of tough love. Even if we have tough love in place, let's have our social policy working. Then it will complement the administration of criminal justice system.
Right, but we are looking at an election that has, you know, that has gone beyond the way it used to be. Compared to what we have now. Okay. Looking at the fallout of the 2023 general election and the elections that are coming up, you know, in few days. This time, we thought that the increased use of technology will reduce, you know, some of these. You talked about ballot box snatching. I feel that should be a mirage, because
should be a mirage. I agree.
Technology. Do you feel that's enough?
You see, one thing about technology is that, you know, in the early days, our soldiers are meant to just go and engage the enemy. He struck here, strike here, you know. The introduction of technology is to make things easy for you and I, and also to reduce the loss of lives in the battlefield. Because, for example, you have a ballot box here, and technology is being introduced. Stealing the ballot box is of no use. Then deploying soldiers or policemen in the ballot box is also of no use, because the systematic process is through technology. You see, the major problem we have now in Nigeria is that we are criminalizing our policy. It's not that people commit crime against the state. The state commits crime against its policy. Policies and procedures are meant to govern us. Most advanced countries in the world are being driven by policies. They are being driven by standard policies, not by man, not you, not me. When you come, you check what is on board, check what is happening within this given society. The policy will drive the state. The policy will drive the nation. But here in Nigeria, we are criminalizing our policy. Criminalizing our policy in the sense that we don't follow those processes. We don't follow those laws that we sit down, drafted, pass it through the National Assembly, been enacted, and we come back, we don't follow. If INEC wants to get things right, they must not criminalize their own policy. They should obey their policy, follow all the procedures. If the policy says, hey, at the count, after counting each of these ballot boxes, papers, transmit it. Anything that is not being transmitted, put a hold. If for you to review or ensure that technology come back to life, hold on for the technology to come back to life. Don't be in a hurry to say, hey, the system is not working, let's do manual. That is how criminal exploitation comes to play. Criminals wait for your vulnerability, and that is why your vulnerability is the criminal's opportunity. So cut off most of this vulnerability so that the criminal will not have an opportunity to strike your system. If the criminal strike your system, you have been defeated. So INEC must sit up, belt up, and also, you know, recover the trust of Nigerians, because Nigerians have lost trust in INEC due to the 2023 general elections. Some Nigerians, because in any given situation, not 100% will go this way. You understand? Then, Vera, just one important thing I also want to talk about, because, you know, we talk about security issues and all this thing. I think most of our security agents have lost, our citizens have lost hope in our security agent, because they believe that our security agent also support most of these guys to carry out ballot boxes. A few days ago, when Israel were trying to advance to Gaza, there's a video making the rounds. You saw the Gaza citizens, they were giving bread, chocolate, throwing it to the soldiers. And I just shared that video among my platform. I said, wow. And I remember a story. In 1999, when we were advancing to Bakassi Peninsula, we alerted at Icom local government. I decided to buy bottled water. I gave the man, was it 100 naira then? And he said, there's no change. With my full military gear on my arm, he knows that we are going to the battlefield. He said, there's no change. He gave me back my money. I have to go and look for water. And I asked a question on the platform that this man should have given me this water. I said, hey, look at this young boy putting his life on Nigeria. I got over 100 feedbacks from Nigerians that why should they give Nigerian military gift? Why should they gift them while they are going to the battlefield? The people that are meant to protect them, dehumanize them, attack them. So when I got through that report, I felt so sad, and I think it's right time the military should have an holistic review of their military-civil relationship, because in the military, there's what we call military-civil relationship, because the society in general is what you are trying to protect, and that is why you are protecting the territorial integrity of Nigeria. Interesting,
because I was going to ask you, now that we have this report, how you foresee the military, the police, security agencies handling these matters ahead of the election, such that the people can trust them to handle whatever situation it is going to be, and they will come out to vote, because oftentimes what we see is when we get this information from INEC, we see that there's voter apathy. People just want to stay back at home. They do not want to, exercise their franchise. Well, what should the police do leading up to this election as we speak?
They should build trust within the society. It's so painful that the Nigerian police are fighting so hard to redeem their image. Do you need to tell the public the police is your friend? There was a time this slogan was moving around this space, the police is your friend, trust us. Let me tell you, Vera, if you are doing the right thing, you don't need to sell yourself. Your character, your professionalism, the obedience of social policy, following the rules of engagement will sell you out. You understand? The military as well, they should also come together, form a formidable team and say, hey guys, it's the right time we need to think about Nigeria. Because if anything happened to our security agents, you and I will not be sitting down here. They are solely trained to protect you and I. And with all honesty, I really appreciate their service to Nigeria, because it's not even easy for you to think to put your life on the line, to trade your life for the betterment of Nigeria. Because while we are asleep at night, a lot of police officers were at work protecting the Nigerian space, not that they are being paid in millions or in billions or in thousands of naira, but because of love for nation. So you don't get trained as a security agent, and when it's time for you to exhibit your professionalism, you want to compromise. The Nigerian security agents must take out compromise from this forthcoming state election within Kogi, Bayelsa and Imo state. And they must tell the citizens that, hey guys, come out, we are ready to vote you guys, and we'll protect you guys from the depth of our hearts.
Because I was also going to look into the matter of they trusting the public. Because look at the incidents in Imo State, how the policemen were killed in that van, where they had a call, and they were trying to respond to that call, and then...
Vera, that was an operational error. We don't have time to talk about it. It's an operational error. Operational error in the sense that we have passed that stage and era. Look at what was happening. When Gaza, this militant attacked Israel, a police vehicle was passing, and they were opening fire on that police vehicle. It was a bulletproof vehicle. So don't put our officers and men out there like sardine. Make sure they are in a protected vehicle that can withstand any shot from Kalashnikov or any other arms and ammunition.
Okay, let's leave this conversation here now because of time. We must thank you, Dixon Osaje, certified anti-terrorism specialist, for your time on the program.
Thank you for having me, Vera. Thank you for all what you do, TVC.